What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Brotherly Glove podcast. Two brothers from Philly talking all things Philly sports. We've seen it all, the best and the worst of the teams, and right now, there is plenty to be excited about. On today's episode, we have so much to talk about. Adnan Virk joins us. He's the host of Amazon Prime Monday Night Hockey and a host on NHL Network and the co-host of the NHL Unscripted Virk and Dammers podcast. And he was at Game 3 in Philly, so the perfect guy to talk to. And if you want to know a little bit more about him, I mean, he's also an Emmy Award winner. He's the best-selling author of the book Cinephile. He's a big-time Flyers and Eagles fan, so we're going to get a little bit about his feelings on the Eagles' round one draft pick. But first, he was in the building, so we want to talk to him about this dominating 3-0 lead for Philadelphia, the first playoff game for the Flyers in Philly in 8 years. And then we'll talk about how the Eagles may have been dominating Pittsburgh yesterday as well. So we will get into some Phillies and some Sixers playoffs, gearing up for Game 3 in Philly here tonight. But without further ado, we want to bring in the expert to talk all things Flyers with us to get us started, Mr. Adnan Virk. How's it going, man? How you feeling?
Kyle, phenomenal intro. Thank you so much for that. Even when it's hyperbolic, it's still appreciated. I have said in the past, just as Joe DiMaggio would not go anywhere unless he was introduced as a greatest living ball player, unless you say Emmy Award winner, I'm just not going to show up. So thankfully you got that in there. As Fish knows, again, I'm going to refer to Fish as John Fisher. Kyle will call you by your God-given name. But as Fish knows, I'm here for external validation. I don't care about anything else but awards. So when someone says Emmy Award winner, that's really all I care about in life. If my career ends tomorrow, I go, well, he did win an Emmy, so that meant something. And thank you for exaggerating the best-selling author. Cinephile is not a best-selling book, but screw it. We're going to call it a best-selling author, and I appreciate you doing that. Fellas, I'm so excited to talk to you guys, not only about all things Flyers, but also, as you said, the Eagles draft, and I got to tell Fish my thoughts on WIP. So we got lots to get into today. Okay. A lot of Philly talk.
Kyle will really like to hear that. Let's do it.
All right, so let's start just vibes, feelings. Yeah. You were down there in the building. I saw your posts on Instagram, just electric atmosphere. Yeah. They even had like a Hoskins bat spike moment in the game. We'll get to all that later. Just tell us, in that building, first time in 8 years, they're playing the same team they did, the hated cross-state rivals. What was it like, man?
Sports are all about passion, as you guys know, and we just have such a personal connection to sports. And I always find it funny. One of my best friends is not a sports fan. So when I try to explain to him, like, our level of fandom, we're just talking different languages. You know, he's more of a music guy, movie guy. He's more of a man of the arts. And he appreciates my love of sports, just doesn't share it. But what he always finds the funniest, and he's seen this before me interacting with sports fans, he goes, you know, it's crazy. You're this 47-year-old Pakistani-Canadian Muslim, and then there's like a 68-year-old white guy, and you guys are vibing about the same thing. Like, there's no way you two would ever talk about anything in life, yet you're friends because you're wearing the same jersey, like because of laundry, as Jerry Seinfeld would say. I'm like, yeah. And we found it happen time and time again at the game. So let me set the stage for you. My son Shaz and I are going. He's 9 years old. Of the Virk boys, he's the biggest Flyers fan of the bunch, so I was able to score a couple tickets to the NHL. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Thank you to having some contacts here for Dad. We leave the house, Bergen County, around 3:30. Fish knows to get to the arena. And by the way, on the way home was $1.50. So normally it's an hour 50, no problem. Now this time it says 210, 220. But as you guys know, once you're approaching that great complex, that's when things crawl to a trickle. And my friend Jim Sarator, a fellow huge Flyers fan, said to me, hey, can't miss God Bless America. I'm like, no, you're right. So we left. I picked him up at school at 3, probably left on 3:30, 3:40. And as we're driving, getting closer, I go, this was a mistake. I should have taken him right at 3 and got right there. I go, once you get there, you can see the link. I'm like, yeah, Broad Street exit. But now it's 6:10. I'm like, buddy, just to pull off and park is going to be an hour. Like, this was a mistake by Dad. I'm like, oh, my God. So as we're pulling off, because you can't take a right, that street's closed up. You get more and more stressed. Like, I'll give $100 for parking. I don't care. I just want to park and get in there. I can't miss God Bless America. For God's sakes, it's Lauren Hart. It's the first home playoff game in 8 years with fans. Got to be there. Credit to the cop. Probably his name is Sal, just guessing, as we're driving by the link. I go, what's the best parking here, Sal? And he's like, take a right, and then go into K. I'm like, all right, you got it. K, I think, is a little close up, but there's another parking lot when you go past the link and then take a left. I'm like, oh, my God. And it's $20 parking. This is absurd. What am I, in 1987? $20 to park near an arena? Like, I know it's not the exact spot, but it's near the arena. I'm like, great. They go in there, park the car. I'm like, maybe a 10, 15-minute walk. Shaz and I both going to pass out because we both have to pee. We have 3 hours in the car now. I'm like, oh, my God, I'm going to pass out. As we're walking, a guy who I think is a restaurateur, like he's kind of standing there hovering, yells out to me. He goes, hey. I go back. Hands me a puck. He goes, it's signed by Cam York. I go, oh, my God. He's like, for you and your son. I'm like, oh, my God, thank you so much. I walk past and I think to my head, I'm like, oh, my God, this happened years ago. Once in a restaurant, the worst moment of my life. of my life. The guy recognized me and then said, "Hey, it's on me." I'm like, "Great." I shook his hand, walked out. I realized after you're supposed to give a tip. So to this day, I'm now the best tipper ever because I'm like, no, especially if the guy says, "Oh, free apps in the house," which doesn't happen often, but I do it. So as I walk away, I go, "No, you got to give the guy something." All I had in my pocket was $10. I go back, I'm like, "Here's $10." He's like, "No, I go, no, I wish I had 50. I promise I would give you 50. All I have is $10. Thank you so much. It's a very nice gesture." And my friends like, "I understand why he did that." I go, "What do you mean?" He just saw a father and son walking, was like, "Yeah, I'll give it to this guy and his kid. They're going to love it." That is how nice Philadelphians are. This is a terrible image people have of Philly people. Like, everyone is friends. As I'm walking, a lot of the guys look like Kyle Fisher. Like, it's a lot of white beards, more shaved heads. Definitely, I don't know, Kyle, if you're tatted up, but definitely some tats. I'm like, yep, that's the general look as I look around Flyers fans. Not the same as me. Clean shaven. I am wearing my Carter Hart jersey, which before my friends like, "I can't believe you're wearing that." I go, "Well, now he's back in the league. He's playing for Vegas." I saw a couple of Carter Hart jerseys. Like, before it was like he's persona non grata. The funniest thing, by the way, just to the side of the jerseys, looking around, the one thing Shaz wanted, and quite frankly, I wanted it, was a Porter Martone jersey. We go to the shop, sold out. I'm like, what? He's like, sold out, no shot. And I swear to God, fellas, looking around, I saw more number 94 Porter Martone jerseys than I saw Konechny jerseys, than I saw number 46 Zegras jerseys. I'm like, go get your Martone jerseys now. Like, everyone's buying stock in this kid. He's a stud for years to come. We did get a little Porter Martone stick. $25 is great. Anyways, we're hustling up. Woman next to me starts talking. She goes, "We picked the best parking spot." She goes, "Yeah." She goes, "It's a 15-minute walk, but you're going to love it getting out of here tonight. It's going to be unbelievable." I go, "I remember once for an Eagles game. We went to the Eagles-Rams game, an hour just in the parking lot." She's like, "Yeah, you don't want to park in the arena. Around is a place to go." Anyways, we get inside, get to a bathroom, got to empty our bladders. 6:57. I said, "Okay, God bless America. I got to get there." Shaz, "We got to get tenders." "Hey, can we wait till the first intermission?" Like, I'm hungry too, but like, I can't. Shaz, this is the best part. It's like going to a boxing match. The best part is actually before the fight. Like, the hype is unbelievable. Like, this Brian Boucher hype video, they're going to go nuts in this crowd. But I'm like, gotta get the tenders. He's 9. Thankfully, not a long lineup. Tenders. Let's get a Pepsi. We're the last ones in a row. 7:02. The Boucher video is already playing. I'm like, yeah, but like 7:02, last one's there. This crowd is hyped beyond all belief. They're there at 6:25 for warm-ups. And then, God bless America, I'm turning him, I'm going to get chills. And I had to make the strong decision, as you guys know. When you're at a sporting event, how much do you record and how much do you just turn off the phone? So I said, all right, I'm going to record God Bless America because this is awesome, but still try to enjoy it while you're recording it. And then turn the phone off, only turn it off at intermissions. Because I know Fish is going to text me. I know Jim Saratour is going to text me. I know Mark Griller's going to text me. All my Flyers buddies, which I appreciate. Trust me, we're in the moment together. But I don't want to be missing a goal. And by the way, I like those guys texting me. I don't want the guy texting me who doesn't know what I'm doing. And it's like, "Hey, how's Friday at 9 looking from the Stu Gods podcast?" I'm like, no, not now. Like, again, it's not fair because you don't know what I'm doing. But it's important to me to not be busy. So phone off. And then the game starts. And I'm like, bro, seats couldn't be better. Section 124. We're 15 rows up. One of the best things also about a sporting event, kind of back to my buddy's point, that's communal experience. When they score, everyone's just high-fiving. Like, you don't know this guy from his grandmother. Like, everyone's just high-fiving everyone next to each other. Everyone's thrilled to see each other. Down 1-0 was concerning. Then the pivotal play, as Brian Russ called, a WWE match broke out. Kyle knows, wrestling fan, WrestleMania just occurred. All I see is Konechny down and Brian Russ punching him. I go, what is going on right now? And we're losing it because then you got 5 Flyers in the box and only 2 Penguins. I'm like, they're not going to do this. We're not going to have 3 consecutive minor penalties to kill off. Thankfully, order's restored. We get the PP, as I think that was right. Zegras scores, goes immediately to the box. Plays goes bananas. And then from there, we were rolling. And I think the fact we've had unsung heroes stepping up, risked a line in every Flyers who was calling for this guy to get traded the last 2 seasons. He's now playing top pair minutes with Travis Sanheim. And at $5 million, he's a steal. Like, I remember a month ago, people were like, oh, they should trade him. Just get rid of him. He's only got 1 year left. I'm like, no, keep him. He's a good defenseman. He might re-sign now. Like, that's how good Ristolainen's been. 820 regular season games. His first playoff game he scores. Sealer's scoring was fantastic. I mean, this is unsung guys are stepping up. I know Fish has the stat about different Flyers defensemen scoring more than the Penguins. Crosby getting an embellishment penalty was hysterical. And I was able to turn the phone on back at the end just to get the final cheers. Fellas, as Philadelphians, you guys know the pressure and the power of that city. A friend of mine argues with it. One of my best friends, he's a Toronto guy, Leafs guy. He goes, well, it's not the same for you. I go, why? He goes, well, you're not from Philly. I go, no, I think that's actually more meaningful. Like, for you as a Toronto guy, you grew up, you see the Leafs win 5. I'm like, but I have no ties to Philadelphia, yet the Flyers have been my team for 40 years. So I'm like, that's a true fan. This guy just loves this team, just loves the black and orange, gravitates to the city, seeing the Bernie Parent jersey, seeing the Hextall, the Lindros. Magical moment. I mean, we pretty much flew on the way home, 2 hours to get home, but it could not have scripted up better. And the fact that Flyers could sweep the Penguins Saturday night is just beyond glorious.
It's incredible. And you mentioned the celebration. I thought the coolest part was they go to celebrate the goal, and he was going to point at somebody who, hey, great job either drawing the penalty or creating this or whatever. But because they were so excited, it spilled right in front of the packed Penguins penalty box. They were up against the glass, and all those doofuses are sitting there like they can't get out because they're celebrating the goal they just scored. This place is going wild. It was awesome.
Yeah, and part of it, you can read the lips, Fish, what Konechny was saying, because he wanted to drop the gloves, which I was worried. I'm like, is that an extra penalty then? But he was basically calling out Russ, saying, you're going to kick me in the head, but you're not going to fight me. If Konechny had actually fought him, I can just imagine how nuts that crowd would have gone.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And the fact that he's waggling the gloves in front of him, like,
right?
come on, man. You wanted to do this. Let's do it. Let's do it the right way.
Yeah.
Konechny didn't score, but he's a beloved Flyer for good reason. I know Fish is our buddy John Lavoie, great producer at ESPN, huge Flyers fan. There's a reason why Konechny is beloved in that city. He's just so passionate, prototypical Flyer.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. They've 11 goals in the series by 10 different players. Martone's the only guy that scored twice. So they're spread it all over. And like you said, so I wanted to build like a little list, but they're outscoring them 11-4. 7 goals by forwards, four by defensemen. The Flyers have as many goals by defensemen as the Penguins have in the whole series. This is pure domination.
Yeah, that is insane. You're right, because nobody would ever look at the Flyers' defense aside from Sanheim. Maybe it came York. Jimmy Drysdale could score a power play goal. No one's like, oh yeah, that's an elite offensive group of defensemen. I'm like, no, like they really aren't. They're a classic greater than the sum of their parts. Like, individual players, you're like, yeah, he's okay, B minus, but then together they're just playing collectively so gallant. And of course, full props to our buddy Rick Tocchet. He's got them rolling right now.
Yeah.
It's funny. It really felt like, they go out and get 2 early leads out in Pittsburgh and they out-physicaled the Penguins, just dominated them physically, not dirty play. They were just setting the tone early and often. And then the crowd kind of gets out of it when they go down in that first game. And I felt like before they even scored those 3 goals, I felt like you're poking the bear here. You're telling this team to wake up. You're telling this crowd to wake up. And they sure did. I mean, 3 goals in 6 minutes to respond to that scrum that it almost felt like the Penguins were trying to make up for lost time with the lack of physicality compared to what the Flyers brought at home, and it kind of bit them in the butt.
Yeah, there's always that fear. Your team goes up 2-0 on the road, game 3, maybe a bit of a letdown. Pittsburgh knows it's a must-win. Down 1-0, I'm like, oh, God. If Pittsburgh wins this game now, eventually it's a series. I'm like, well, I did call Flyers in 7, so it shouldn't be surprising if Pittsburgh win 1. But we know how important that game 3 is. So the fact the Flyers were able to take a deep breath, as you said, wake up a little bit with the rough stuff, and then score those 3 goals in a second. It's massive. Like, once it's 3-0, you're not going to gag this, right? And we all know that firsthand. 3-0, I was at that game 7, the Flyers-Bruins. Of course, Philly came back. Simone Gagne scoring on the power play, able to come back against the Bruins. This Pittsburgh team, I mean, for Kyle Dubas' team, showing a complete lack of heart. Like, there's no fight. There's no spirit with this team. Malkin did score, but Crosby's in completely silence. I mean, what a job. Konechny shadowing him. Also, Sanheim playing top pair minutes, completely shutting down Crosby. I mean, I love Sid as a Canadian, what he's done for Team Canada, but as a Penguin, I despise him. So I love the fact he's been a complete no-show. The crowd taunting him after the penalty. It's been, like I said, glorious to watch.
Yeah, and I love, like, embellishment is the fancy word, but he got a faking penalty.
Yeah.
He got a penalty for faking it. It's so good. Kyle mentioned the physical play, 132 to 100 in hits in 3 games. That's 10 more hits a game. The Penguins have only 2 guys with 10. Wotherspoon has 12. Mantha has 10. The Flyers' leading hit guy is Tippett with 20. So and they have 5 guys in double digits. The Penguins have 2. It's just it's obvious on the screen, and then you see the numbers, and you're like, man, they are really just taking it to them.
Yeah, give some love to Owen Tippett. He was acquired by the Flyers in that Claude Giroux trade. And at the time, it was like, all right, Giroux's going to get traded. Clearly, there still is value for this guy. Oh, this Tippett guy could be okay. Maybe he's a top 6 forward, maybe a 20-goal scorer. I'm like, no, now I feel like he's a 30-goal scorer. He can be an absolute stud for you. They signed him to a long-term deal. And he hits. Like, again, he's out there playing physical. He scores the empty net goal. Tippett's one of those guys. I mean, he had that great setup in Game 2, setting up Hathaway. Hathaway's another player I've fallen in love with. He only had 1 goal in the regular season. But you watch Garnet Hathaway out there, though, he grinds. He's tough. He plays penalty kill minutes. Like, he's one of those heart and soul players. Glenn Denning's another guy like that. Like, I know right now maybe people haven't been following the Flyers that avidly, but they're starting to fall in love with these names. And whether it's Tippett, Hathaway, Glenn Denning, real lunch bucket mentality, which is making this team so competitive.
And Tippett might be my favorite guy. That you mentioned the setup on the goal. I thought that was like one of the best shifts of the whole series. It was incredible what he did. And then later in the game, taking that shot to the nose, or the cheap shot with his glove on, and he just kind of stood there like, Yeah, you got me. We'll see. I thought it was great. Yeah, you said I'm that way. I mean, I'm into it, and I didn't really watch much during the year. You know, my priorities at different times and my favorite sports and whatever. And I've watched all 3 games, and it's funny trying to learn these guys on the fly and what you're seeing if they're not watching all year. It's awesome. Like just falling in love with what you're seeing and which guy. Martone's an obvious one, but Tippett, he might be my favorite guy. It's been great.
Yeah, he's been awesome, which brings up the greater question of WIP and what does a man have to do to get some Flyers talk the way down? Kyle, rental car right now, so I'm at the mercy of talk radio. So the first hour I'm listening to The Fan, which Craig Carton's pretty good. He's an entertaining guy. He was ripping on the Mets pretty good. Some funny lines about Francisco Lindor, stories about his life. I'm like, say what you want about Carton. He's very good on the radio. He's very entertaining, and he can carry the show. But I flip it over to WIP as I'm getting closer. I'm like, I'm going to get Flyers talk here for sure. Again, 7 o'clock is the game. I was left at 3:30, so probably around like 4:30, I'm in WIP range. I'm like, all right, 2 hours of Flyers. No, Spike Eskin, Ike Reese. Now, I would have taken the Eagles draft talk. I'm happy with that. All Sixers. Wall-to-wall Sixers talk. Like, I have not heard more VJ Edgecombe talk in my life. I'm like, all right, and I hate the Celtics, but now I might be cheering for the Celtics. Just enough of the Sixers talk. I'm like, no, please. Where is the Flyers talk? At some point, Spike Eskin did say, he goes, WIP, only radio station that all season long had at least one segment dedicated to the Flyers. I'm like, okay, so where's that segment? I'm still waiting for it. I listened the last hour and a half. Like, can we start talking Flyers? He kept giving the same thing. Like, all right, Couturier and a bunch of guys we don't know, young players, they're fine. The funniest caller, actually, was the guy who called in and said 4 of the top 6 players in the Celtics-Sixers series are Sixers. And Spike said, what are you talking about? He's like, no. He goes, Brown and Tatum. He's like, yeah, other 4 are all the Sixers. He's like, what are you talking about? There's no one saying that. He's like, yep, 4. The guy was adamant. He was going to fight him. He's like, 4 of the top 6 players in this series are Sixers. Therefore, they're winning this in 6. Your thoughts?
I guess I don't know. I'll have to think of it. He might be right, but I mean, the top 2 are Celtics. I think that outweighs having 3 through 6, doesn't it?
Yeah. I guess he was trying to say their depth is better. I'm like, listen, it's a competitive series. I hope Philly pulls it off. It's great to be a Philly sports fan. And by the way, I thought maybe there'd be a lit of Phillies talk. 0. Topper right now, my guy feeling it, of course, fellow Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. The Phillies have the worst record by winning percentage of the National League. Like, I'm shocked how bad this skid has been. People have been taking shots to the Mets' 12-game losing streak, but it's bad right now in Philly. But Bryce Harper should be sending out gift baskets to Porter Martone and to VJ Edgecombe. Thank God the city of Philadelphia is focused on the Sixers and the Flyers and not what's happening right now with the Phillies.
100%. And that, I'll just quick thing. We played a game, first time we played it in our podcast on Monday earlier this week. We went through all the things we are seeing with the Phillies. So we played 2 games. Is it early or is it broken? Hey, it's early on. Stuff happens in a small sample size. Or, hey, this is going to be a problem. Doesn't look good. And then our second game, which was our new favorite, was at least we're not the Mets. And that was the extent of the game. Well, that only lasted 1 day. The Mets, exactly. Phillies now have the longest losing streak in baseball. They're tied for the worst record. They've had the worst run differential for a week, and they look terrible. The Mets have won 2 in a row, so that game's over, and all our fun's out the window.
Yeah, before I could even clip it for socials, it was already irrelevant. So.
Good news is Zach Wheeler's back soon. That's a good news. Yes. Zach Wheeler's coming back.
So, all right. So, let's really quick on the Flyers. Like, not to make a prediction or anything, but is this a hey, just you can get hot coming out, and first time there's energy. They're kind of young. I mean, I haven't watched all year, but watching the series, they certainly look younger and faster than the Penguins. So is this a matchup thing and coming out of the gates hot, or is this legit and they've got a shot to keep advancing?
I think they have a legit shot. I am concerned, though, because next will be the Carolina Hurricanes. They're currently up 3-0 right now in the Ottawa Senators. So there's 2 ways you can look at that. One, Carolina's been so good, they're going to be tough to beat. Or Ottawa hasn't been able to match them, and the games have been relatively close. So maybe Carolina, even though it's misleading, they're up 3-0, they have been exerting a lot of energy to win these games. They won last night 2-1 against Ottawa. So maybe they won't be as battle-tested as Philly, whereas Philly's looked more dominant against Pittsburgh. Like, my brother texts me and goes, close game. I go, no, not really. I go, once we were down 1-0, came back. Yeah, they made it 3-2 after basically back-to-back penalties, so it's tough not to score there. Biggest concern, by the way, is Vladar. When he got hurt there, it looked like the right wrist hand. I'm like, oh, my God, like the series could be over. I'm like, at that point, I'm like, even if Sam Harrison comes in, watch out. So thank God Vladar was okay. And again, he's a really good goalie, but again, it goes to Tocchet. Like, he's not like Dominic Hasek stealing the game. He's just making the saves that he needs to make, and then some timely saves, of course, very important in the power play. But, like, Philadelphia does a phenomenal job at limiting good scoring opportunities. There was not moments that you said to yourself, oh, my God, how about that breakaway stop on Crosby or Malkin or Letang? I'm like, no, generally it's just like shots from the perimeter. He'll make that save. Good rebound control. They clear the puck right away. So, again, strong defensive effort, and Vladar's got to be good. I think they sweep the Penguins at this point, even if they win it in 5, whatever. Fait accompli, they win this series. I think Carolina, they'll challenge them. Again, they'll be underdogs. Again, they've proven against Pittsburgh they're capable of rising to the challenge. So I think they probably lose that series in 6, but I wouldn't discount it. And if they get past Carolina, then you're like, oh my God, now we're playing with house money because it's Eastern Conference Final. And one thing about this Philly team, the one that got the Cup final last time, 2010, was what? A number 7 seed, right? Brian Boucher, the famous fist pump. Flyers beat the Rangers. So they're used to being underdogs and taking that team deep. They're probably still a year or 2 away because, as you mentioned, Fish, a little bit young right now, still learning on the fly. And I do think that power play is going to harm them. Like, this power play has got to start scoring some goals. I know Noah Cates did score that 4th goal, nifty move there, but you've got to have a better success rate overall. Credit to their PK, though. Penalty kill has been excellent and a big part of it, but ultimately, I think savor the victory, which is coming against the Penguins. How sweet would a sweep be? I mean, you already had the first Flyers home playoff win in 10 years in front of fans. Now, to sweep the Penguins would be enormous, and I think they'll challenge Carolina. I don't think they'll roll over. I think it'd be tough to win it, but I think it'll be still a really strong competitive series.
Cool. One last thought on the Flyers, Johnny, unless you had something else, but
No.
the vibes were very different last time we had you on around the Olympic break, and the conversation was more about how they should probably be tanking the season, and they messed up by not trading certain people at the deadline. And obviously we talked about the impact of losing Forrester. He comes back. He's picked up right where he left off. You have Porter Martone come in and add a jolt to this team. It's like they're winning with the power of friendship. It seems like it's so crazy. Yeah. But just kind of beyond those 2 names, is there something that you've seen that you feel like has been the difference for them since coming back from that break? Or is it just, some people in Philly are saying Porter Martone might be the greatest player in the NHL? I don't
know. Well, it's funny, Kyle, about the odds. I when you go to a website, it starts saying you visit this website frequently. The one that kept popping up here is puckdaddy.com because I'm checking the playoff odds. I was checking it every single day. So I remember when the Flyers beat the Leafs back in my hometown, March 2nd on Amazon, and Paul Bissonnette took him until the second period to figure out I'm a Flyers fan. When Shane Huddy goes, are you a Flyers fan? He goes, bro, he's wearing a black suit with an orange pocket square. Like, how much more obvious could it be that he's cheering for Philly? But I get that time, I remember looking, it was 3.8% playoff chances. And I go, we still have a chance. I remember texting my buddy Zach Costello, huge Flyers fan, like, they lost the Blue Jackets, and I go, felt like a must-win. Or before a big game, I'm like, this is a must-win. We'd lose, I'm like, well, they're still alive, but it's doubtful. And it got down to 3.8%. I haven't seen the shirts, but they printed up some shirts saying 3.8%, which is right the odds Flyers had, right? Early, yeah. I'm like, unbelievable, because that is true. I remember seeing that going, like, I never stopped paying attention. I never stopped caring. But I stopped believing. Like, I would watch the game and go, okay, well, they got another 1 point, loser point. There's 4 teams ahead of them. There's 22 games left. They're probably not going to make it. I'll still keep paying attention, but it's probably not going to happen. Like, what are the odds? All these teams are going to choke. And then they did. Look, the Blue Jackets completely fell apart. Yeah. Islanders completely fell apart. Flyers took off. I'm like, yes. Like, this is why you never give up on your team. You're always paying more attention and following it. So I think they got fortunate. No doubt those other teams stumbled. But I do think that collective defensive effort has been a big part of it. And then you're right, Kyle. I think Forrester Martone coming back is huge. Forrester might be their best goal-scoring prospect. He was out for 50-plus games. So that's an enormous part of it. And then obviously, Martone has given them a real jolt, and he's 19 years of age, but plays above his weight, above his age. He's a big hulking presence. Guy had 9 shots on goal in his second game. Like, this is a classic. No moment is too big for him. He stepped right in. And also what it helps is it's alleviated the pressure on a guy like Travis Konecny, who does so much of them, but he is undersized. So now, like, no, we actually have wings now. Like, it's okay. We don't have to double shift Konecny, play him 30 minutes. Michkov has also been much better. I probably saw more Michkov jerseys there than anyone other than Porter Martone. So, like, the Flyers fan base loves him, realizes he could be the next big thing. He led the Flyers in points since the Olympic break. He showed up at camp out of shape, not defensively responsible. Credit to him for buying in now in Talk System. He's been more effective. And then Noah Cates, he's had the second most points since the All-Star break. So I would point to Forrester Martone, absolutely. But I do think Michkov and Cates' has improved play, along with the continued excellence of your Zegras and your Konecny you get all year long. That's been a big part of it. So they've been fortunate, but credit to them. Strong defensive game plan. I mean, since March 2nd, they're second in goals against in hockey. So a lot of that is Vladar. He's a great goalie, no doubt. That is a tremendous signing by Danny Briere and by Keith Jones. But collectively, they've helped made sure that those opportunities are not great ones that he's facing.
Awesome.
Johnny, anything final on the Flyers?
No, this has been so fun to get back into, even in this short burst. And yeah, whether they advance in the next round or not, this is really cool. And to get to know some of these players and to know who's there and to really start rooting. I'm actually, I'm looking forward to getting back in and watching more hockey going forward. But I mean, right now this is awesome. And I went to Penn State. I've got a bunch of Penguins fans. And one thing that happened, we'll transition really quick if you want to stay, if you have any thoughts. Philly dominated Pittsburgh again last night. Did you catch this, Adnan? So
at the draft,
Eagles had the 23rd pick. The draft was in Pittsburgh, and the Steelers had number 21. And then there was a trade, a lot of stuff at the top. Rams came in and drafted Ty Simpson higher than a lot of people thought. There were some trades. The NFC East teams drafted a bunch of great players, really good drafts out of those teams. Eagles move up. They actually swap with Dallas, and we saw later, I don't know if you saw the video, but they drafted USC wide receiver Makai Lemon.
Well, he's on the phone talking to the Steelers.
Right.
Apparently, he was on the phone with the Steelers. They were telling him we're going to draft him. The Eagles jumped a spot and took him. And not just, maybe this is just the way I always think, like, that's a little presumptuous no matter what, right? To call and say you're picking a guy before you're actually on the clock? No?
Yeah, it's almost too laughable to be believed. Like that we're taking him like, oh, shoot, sorry, I got to go. Like what? Like, so I got to – it's like, it'd be like hitting on the girl at the bar. I'm like, okay, you know what? We'll just, last call, you and me are going to go. So actually, I have a better option over here. Actually, this guy's got more money than you, and he's taller and more handsome, and he already had dibs. So I got to go now. I'm like, damn it! Yeah. I just wanted to wait until the last possible second. So it's definitely a funny situation. I've come to terms with the A.J. Brown situation. If you guys had asked me previously, I'm sure I said, I'd rather keep him. Like, there's only so many 1,000-yard receivers I can count on who can make big plays. But I've actually come to terms with it. And more of it comes down, I just believe in Howie. Like, ultimately, I'm like, this guy is so good at being the architect of this team and filling weaknesses and filling holes. And ultimately, I'm not there. But A.J. Brown seems like a giant pain in the ass. So if you're going to be a giant pain in the ass and then you're not going to be huge in the playoffs for us and you'll be complaining all the time, like, I get it. Like, I if you want to just move on and make those moves, I'm like, fine. Like, I still think he's a great receiver. I think he's going to have a great career ahead of him. I think he'll go to New England. He'll be great. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, I'm never a fan of trading a strength because I'm like, this guy's really good. But if it's not advantageous to you on a personal level, if you find he's quarreling too much with Jalen, if it's like, hey, the cap situation is expensive, so there's a couple more years left, then fine, then I get it. Go ahead, go get a cheaper option. I do love Devontae Smith, still love Dallas Goedert, and so hopefully Lemon's a stud. I mean, it's rare for the Eagles to do that, to draft a receiver early. I always feel like, personally, if I'm looking at the draft, I always look at the line. Like, go get your offensive tackle and your defensive tackles and defensive linemen, like edge rushers, do that early. And then later on, I feel like I can find a receiver in the 5th round who in the right system with the right blocking, et cetera, can be like a really good threat. But ultimately, if Philly feels like Lemon is that good a stud, I know Bletnikoff winner, I'm well aware of the fact he's widely heralded. That's great. But I will say, I hope they do get Lane Johnson's replacement at some point. We all know, Fish was saying, Lane Johnson wasn't sure if he was going to come back. He's back for one more season. He's injury prone at this point in his career. He's a future Hall of Famer. And you saw what a huge difference he was to the Eagles team a year ago. If Lane's there, feel good about our chances. If he's not there, you saw what his absence felt. So I do hope with regards to the draft, they do get Lane's replacement. Again, it's one thing to say replace a future Hall of Famer. That's hard to do. But the receiver is flashy and sexy. Great. Fan base will be appeased. Get what you can for A.J. Brown. But go get a really good offensive lineman as well.
Yeah, I think 7 tackles came off the board in the first round last night.
Yeah.
And this broke a streak. Their last 5 first-round picks were defensive players, most of them from Georgia, and most of those guys are awesome. So it's cool. And I think my guess has been that they either collectively, and I feel like it must have been decided either Brown really wanted to go or the Eagles thought, hey, this is just kind of, we'd rather not deal with this, despite the talent. And I'm actually kind of impressed that it hasn't turned into one of those like blow up kind of things where if Brown just said to them, hey, this really isn't fun for me anymore, or they were thinking, hey, we'd rather have, spread the ball out a little bit more, and his surliness isn't worth what he's providing, however that decision was come to. I give him credit for not having it be this thing that they could actually sit here and we're talking about waiting until June 1st to actually trade him to make it more beneficial for the team. But it's clear this is the 4th wide receiver the Eagles have acquired in the last month. They're not all studs, but I know Mel Kiper had them as one of his big winners based on that pick, and people really seem to like Makai Lemon. So yeah, especially I think, and that's trust in Howie, like you said, if they had to make the move, it felt like they were going to, and they're doing it where it's going to impact them less on the salary cap. And then if he goes and makes this kind of move for a guy who seems like he's going to be really good, then it seems like we're in good hands. And let's make the move and keep it moving.
Yeah, 100%. That's a good point. That hasn't been a distraction. Like if A.J. Brown wanted to be a prima donna be difficult about it, he could. But you're right. We'll just wait till June 1st. Everyone knows it's going to happen. And I hope it's the way you described it. Like I hope it was a mutual party. He just goes, listen, man, I'm just not having fun. I'm like, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Like I want to go somewhere. And we're not having fun if you're not having fun. Like that's okay.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with having to change the scenery. He can be a great Eagle for us and still a great player. So curious to see what ends up transpiring. But yeah, a lot of receivers we'll still have, and the draft will be fun. Last thought as I let you guys go, just on the Flyers, the funniest moment of the night, of course, was Gritty beating up a penguin. Like he had like a stuffed penguin, beats it up, suplex, throws it down. Fans start throwing, almost threw it on the ice. I'm like, this is what it takes. I mean, the first home playoff game with Gritty in attendance, beating up a penguin. Fantastic. Huge A+. Great.
Yeah.
I love he was staring them down during warm-ups. It was awesome. The dude is just ungovernable.
And last thought, too, the Flyers brought back the goal song earlier this year, but ain't talking about love. Van Halen every single time was fantastic. I mean, I'm just screaming the, hey, hey, hey. Great goal song. Well done by the Flyers.
That's my favorite, and I don't know how old I was when I went down and they were playing that, and that was back when I was young and didn't realize like there was it might have actually been another Van Halen song. I didn't realize that like actual songs were then used for something else. Yeah. I thought that song, it was the Pepsi Clear commercial, and I was like, wow, that's a really cool song in that commercial. Well, it was already a song. They licensed it. Same thing with this song. I was like, wow, they have an awesome goal song. Like this song is really cool. And people were like, yeah, no kidding. It's a great song. It's been around for like 30 years. Great goal song. Hey, we can't thank you enough. The fact that we got somebody who was at the game to tell us what it was like is awesome. We're living a little vicariously through you and can't wait for game 4. But yeah, everything, the hockey stuff, the Eagle stuff, all the Phillies insights, everything, and just the laughs and good times. We appreciate you coming on, man.
Of course, Fish, anytime. Hopefully the three of us can get to a game now. This Flyers run keeps going. Flyers, Hurricanes, we can be there together. And Kyle, good luck with the baby. This is impressive. You're doing the podcast.
Thank you.
Due date today. You're still getting it in. Good for you.
Yeah, I've got it. Business to take care of here, Adnan, especially with you, man. Appreciate it. Don't forget, you can always find Adnan on Amazon Prime Monday Night Hockey. He will be covering throughout the playoffs. And check out his podcast, NHL Unscripted, Virk and Demers podcast. And don't forget, he's an Emmy Award winner. So make sure you tune in and give him the shout and give him the respect he deserves. We respect and love and appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks so much, boys. Talk to you soon.
NHL Network, MLB Network, buy the book.
Buy the book.
Buy the book, most importantly. Fish knows. Best selling. I'll take it. Thanks,
Adnan. Oh, that was Adnan Virk, Mr. Adnan Virk. Great to have him on again. Johnny, I don't know if you have anything left on Flyers before we move on. I think Adnan did enough of the emotion for us, but any last thoughts before we move on to next topic? Are we going Sixers, Phillies? Where you want to go next?
No, the coolest thing has just been the excitement and reminder that I really like hockey, and whether it's been work or family things or whatever priorities happen, I've watched less hockey the last few years. And also I think with them being out of it, it's easy to make that choice. If you're deciding between a couple things, Flyers haven't been as competitive, you make that choice that way. We know this has been a good Phillies run. The Sixers have been in the playoffs a bunch. And, the runs the Eagles have made, the draft's always a big deal and all that stuff. So it's just kind of the way it's fallen. But this has been really like fun for me to get back into it and think, man, no matter how long this run lasts, I'm jazzed up about it. And to watch them again next season and to really kind of lean into these players, like this is the best part. But it really does seem, I don't want to act like I've got it all figured out after just jumping back on the bandwagon. But there are some really, really likable and seemingly really talented players. Martone's an obvious one, but like these young guys and they could seemingly keep them together for quite some time. They've got a great goalie. They've looked like they've got a great system, limiting shots on goal, have a good goalie behind it, and then all this firepower. And like I mentioned, on defense and up front. So this has just been awesome. And yeah, man, this might be one of those things where they can kind of ride this wave to maybe, let's call it overachieving, what their season results were. But, we joked about everybody in Philly calling it the Adnan effect. I mean, they are 21-7-1 since Adnan came on the podcast. That's also since the Olympic break. But
yes,
they've won 21 of 29 games. And I looked it up while Adnan was talking about Carolina. All 4 meetings went to overtime or shootout with them this year, including an overtime win the Flyers had down the stretch when they seemingly had to win every game. So I'm excited. I'm not going to predict one way or another, if it gets there, but or at least not right now. But to me, this isn't just a team that's like playing over its head because of emotion. They look really fast. They look really good. They look really deep. and they've had good matchups with their probable opponent in the next round. So buckle up. This is going to be great.
Yeah, it should be fun against Carolina. That's when they clinched the playoffs, was that shootout victory over Carolina with just in the second to last game of the season. So it should be a fun one. And obviously the entire city is fired up. It's awesome. And to get his perspective from inside the building is pretty cool too. We talked briefly about the draft. So before we move on from Eagles, Johnny, you mentioned it. I think that it's more obvious than ever that A.J. Brown is likely going to move on from the Eagles or the Eagles will move on from him rather after June 1st, cutting down on that cap hit. They have signed or traded for four and the draft, right? 4 or 5? Is it 4? 4 receivers in the last month.
We've added 4 wide receivers in the last month. They signed Hollywood Brown. They signed Elijah Moore. They traded for Dontavian Wicks from Green Bay, and then they just moved up for Makai Lemon last night.
Now, one thing that I've heard a lot and from different reporters who are really tuned in down there at the NovaCare is that while they obviously liked Lemon and it seems like a clear sign that they're going to move on from AJ, they didn't necessarily target him specifically going into the draft. I think it was more of he's surprisingly available and we don't have to give up too much to go get him. Part of the Eagles draft strategy is they have players tiered. And if one of those players starts to fall within range of where they think they can go and get them rather, even if it's not the best fit, they're going to go get what they determine to be a high quality player. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the offseason. They shop in the cheap contracts and the elite players. Those are the two pools that they shop in. They don't really go for anybody who's filling in that middle of the pack when it comes to talent. So you either want high upside on 1-year deals to fill in holes, or you want elite talent, whether it's on a mega contract or a rookie deal. And they felt strongly enough about Lemon to go make that move, trading with the Cowboys to move up 3 spots and go get their guy. Now, they have plenty of draft capital, so it was a minimal sacrifice to move up 3 spots, but they went and got a guy that they felt should have been taken much higher than that. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that and that being the approach, or if that changes your mind on them getting a wide receiver as opposed to maybe a position of quote unquote more need. But to me, I feel like if they're identifying this guy as an elite talent in a draft that was very top heavy in the first round, whether they move on from AJ Brown or not, it still felt like the right move to go get this guy if they think that highly of him.
Yeah, and that's definitely how he would draft. I mean, he's got the patience, the discipline, but also the leverage to draft like that, right? They've been to 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls. They've won 2 in the last 8 years. And he's put together a really good roster. So I think I don't want to call it a luxury. It's how everybody would want to build their team and how they'd want to attack the draft. He can do it for a bunch of reasons. He's got, like I said, the leverage and the confidence in his, there's a lot of GMs who are trying to save their job by certain things. Howie's not worried about that. So you get the guys you think are the best fits. He thinks very much about value. And I, wouldn't pretend to know what their draft board looked like, but at number 19, which is right before they moved up, 1, 2, 3, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was the 5th tackle taken. So if they were looking at offensive linemen and hoping a certain guy would fall to them, or they had, if they had tiered the offensive tackle list, there was also a guard taken up there. So 7, what was that? What did I say? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I'm doing this in the fly. Whatever, 5 or 6 tackles taken and a guard at that point. So it makes sense that, hey, if there's a guy still in our number 1 tier of players that's still there, let's go get him. And I'm sure a guy who's as successful as him is also like multiple sorts of contingency plans, right? Like, do we have to trade AJ? Do we want to trade AJ if we're getting something back? And if something's on the table where you can do it, where it helps the team and receive something, but also, hey, we've got now this slides right in and fixes that problem, and we feel good about our spots in the roster, great. So yeah, I think job well done, and that's why they're getting great draft grades again from everyone.
Right, and they do need to get cheaper on the offensive end, so going and getting a skill position player who is on a rookie deal is obviously huge for the growth of this team. I was watching the draft with Chase last night, my son, and he felt like if you're going to trade up, why not trade up even further and go get one of the edge rushers that were more highly touted at the top of the draft. maybe in that like 10 to 15 range. Go get one of the offensive linemen, because one of the things that killed them last season was the depth on those two lines. And there is a question from fans about whether this was the right move, but I say to this point, trust in Howie. And if they feel like they want to go get a guy like this, despite knowing like he's as aware as anybody that they need depth in those positions. So if they felt that strongly about going to get this guy and the eye he's had for talent in the middle and late rounds, I would trust that he's going to address those other spots rather quickly on day 2 and day 3.
Yeah. So that was the obvious takeaway for everyone immediately was AJ Brown's probably gone if you're adding another wide receiver, especially at that point in the draft with that kind of capital. And they've made, we mentioned the people they acquired, but like my other takeaway right after that was the rest of the NFC East had also seemingly great drafts. Right. They've all gotten great grades. And the limited things I know about those players, the Giants and Cowboys both had 2 picks. The Giants picked 5 and 10. They picked Arvell Reese, linebacker, edge rusher from Ohio State, and then a massive human being left at tackle from Miami at 10. Have you seen pictures of this guy?
Yeah, he's humongous.
Looks like just an absolute tree. And Commanders got a great linebacker from Ohio State at number 7. Cowboys picked what some people think is the best player in the draft, a safety at number 11. And the Eagles go get Lemon, and the Cowboys got an edge rusher when they dropped back in the Eagles pick. So that was my other takeaway was the Eagles were the first team in 20 years or over 20 years to win back-to-back NFC East titles. And, those teams haven't been the Cowboys have been around, but down for a couple of years for the Giants and Commanders, but they've all got good players and they're coming. So the Eagles need to keep this window extended as long as they can. Really good drafts by the other teams.
Yeah, the NFC East is going to be dangerous once again. And I think not the steal necessarily, because everybody knows that the biggest surprise was, I think, for the Giants was that Reese was still there at 5. Like, they didn't have to move up and go get him. A lot of people considered him obviously Mendoza was going to go 1, but people considered him an easy choice for 2 or 3. And the fact that he's still sitting there for the Giants after they trade a big defensive lineman in the offseason, you go get replenished and cheaper right off the bat. It's going to be a little bit of tough sledding for the Eagles. So these next couple rounds are going to be important to address some of their holes and keep the rest of the NFC East at bay.
Yeah, one good thing I heard somebody talking about was Jason Kelsey was talking about Dexter Lawrence and saying it's not a bad thing to have him out of the division. He's like, I couldn't block that guy. Blocking that guy is a pain in the ass. And to have to do it twice a year is awful. So at least that's a little leg up. But yeah, I mean, it's a good move for the Giants, and they get 2 great players in the draft right after they make that move. So they replace him with a guy in a different position. But those teams are coming, and they made great picks. I'm excited to see what happens tonight and the rest of the draft and how these teams fill out.
Well, it seems like a big win for the NFC East on day 1. Big win for the Eagles with their surprise trade up to get another wide receiver to a deep room. Unfortunately, a team that has not gotten another win since the last time we spoke to the people, Johnny, is the Philadelphia Phillies, now owners of the longest losing streak in the majors. Showed some fight yesterday afternoon in Chicago against the Cubs, but that is after what was a horrid stretch of 8 straight games of just getting dominated and not playing clean baseball. And there are unlucky moments, but unlucky really rears its ugly head when nothing else is going right. So, John, I mean, is there any silver lining for you right now with this team other than it's April?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see a silver lining. I also don't, I would have most of the same comments that I had the other day. I don't think the pitchers will, sometimes guys are going to have weird days. Like Christopher Sanchez, he's been awesome. I wouldn't worry about him. Yeah, it stinks to have a crappy day in the middle of a long losing streak from your ace, but guys have crappy games every now and then, and he had one. So even on a day that they finally put some runs on the board, their ace goes out and gives up 6 runs and makes it tough. So maybe Brandon Marsh is the bright spot. He wasn't one of the guys I was worried about, but we see what the catchers look like with Real Muto out, which, I don't want to be dismissive, but I didn't have much expectation for offensively that group when JT's on the shelf. So we've seen that. Justin Crawford's numbers are coming down a little bit. I was listening on the radio, and it sounded like Alec Bohm really ripped one in the ninth inning. So he hit one hard the other way, which I know has actually somewhat been part of the problem. I think I've heard Anthony DeBundo talking about a week ago, like he had only pulled one. He's pulled one ball in the air all season. I don't know if that's more in the last couple of days, but so hitting it hard the other way is good. He's an all fields kind of guy, but to not have any opportunities for power on the pull side so far, you wonder if this is, how can he correct that, and if he's got to change something to present that stuff. But a hard extra base hit, what it sounded like on the radio last night, I guess that's good. And I'm just looking at the box score. I mean, we talked about how they were last in the league in OPS from 4 through 9. But I'm looking at the box score yesterday, and the top 4 spots in the order were 1 for 15 combined. So, and that's a day-to-day thing. I'm not worried about that. But yeah, I didn't see anything in the last 4 days that makes me change my mind on anything. You're right. They put up a little bit of fight yesterday. I mean, some runs got to start getting in. I'll have to look, but I'll look maybe when we're talking about something else. But I think they've been hitting the ball relatively hard. Like their numbers are all towards the bottom. I don't think all their like hard hit stuff and things like that, the underlying stuff, is all as bad as that. So maybe there's some kind of movement in that. Like keep hitting the ball hard, it'll find holes. Balls will start to get down. So I'll confirm whether that's still true or not. But I didn't see anything the last couple of days that makes me change my mind or anything. What about you?
I mean, yesterday felt like it could be a momentum shift. Obviously, the win would have been better, but like you said, the bottom of the order really picked it up and made that thing close and forced extra innings in a game where your starter didn't have his best stuff. The one thing I'll say is you mentioned Sanchez. Obviously, like he's due to have a bad game. He's allowed 35 hits so far this season over his 4 starts. He's never allowed 35 hits over a 4-start stretch in his career. And he's already allowed 10-plus hits in 2 games this season. He had 0 games where he allowed 10-plus hits last season. So don't expect every year to be as dominant as last year was. He was electric. But that sinker, they're going to have to figure something out. It seems like he's lacking some same arm side control on that. He's really not able to get it underneath the lefties and just leaving it out over the plate a little bit. And really just going into the power zone on righties. He's trying to bang it in, and if he can't get it all the way in, it's just eking out over the plate. So there's some concerns there. But the thing that and you mentioned, obviously, Real Muto was hitting pretty well. And this is going to be a shameless plug, but I wrote last year when Stubbs got called back up, I had a conversation with him and some other players on the team about, he's always been the vibes guy, but Brandon Marsh, before his turnaround last year when he was on the injured list and rehabbing in AAA, talked about how much Stubbs helped him from a mental perspective. She said, I know everybody talks about this guy in a lot of good ways, but Stubby, man, when I went down to Lehigh for those rehab games, he just got my head back in the game. He just leveled me out, and that's what guys like that do. He's an incredible asset to the team. And then we went on to, I spoke to him directly, Stubbs that is, and he told me last year, in order to have success going forward, you've got to have guys in the locker room that are there for you. And so it's not always tweaking your hands in your swing or changing your windup as a pitcher. Sometimes it's really between the ears and just figuring out that relax moment and going out there and playing the game and not thinking about the results. And I know that kind of reinforces what Thompson has been saying about guys trying to do too much. But when you have a guy who's now going to be in that clubhouse every single day, at least for the next 9 days, who brings that mentality and that to like checking on individual players. He's known to just walk up to a guy because he has a vibe or a feel about how that guy's doing and sit down with him and make sure that he's good mentally and make sure that he's taking moments to relax and remember that it's a game at the end of the day and to have fun and to take that pressure off of you. And he's also a guy who knows how to have fun, and not that this team doesn't, but they have seemed to have a more professional approach the last 2 years, whereas it was very fun and loose and all over the place those first 2 seasons of this run. So to have a guy like that who knows how to find that little thing or that little moment to have with his teammates may do this team some good, even if it's only a 10 or 9 day stretch left of him being up with the club.
Yeah. And you mentioned something there about the nature of the sport, and it's been talked about, especially for closers, but just kind of in baseball in general. Like one of the benefits of the consistent day-to-day nature of it is there's always an opportunity to right a wrong or to get back on track, right? You're in a slump, you go 0 for 4, or you make a bad play or a bad decision, there's a game the next day. You can erase it. I would also say there's an opportunity for that to work the other way too, and especially in some of these bigger markets where they're being asked about it all the time. I mean, I know there's even in a smaller market, you're going to be asked about a losing streak or slumps or whatever, but I'm sure it feels different with the amount of attention, especially with the success they've had the last couple of years. So going 0 for 4, being 0 for 12 in a series, whatever, it's nice. It can be nice to have, hey, we got a game tomorrow. I can get back on track. It can also be, I'm sure there can be a really big compounding effect of this stuff too, where we've lost 6 straight and that's all everybody's talking about. And then, yeah, do I have an opportunity tomorrow to kind of get back on track? Yeah, but also I'm going to go to work tomorrow and have people standing at my locker asking me about it. And so you get asked about it before you go out, things don't go your way. You come back in, you get asked about it. You wake up the next day, you go to work, you get asked about it. You go out, and if things don't work out perfectly or something goes wrong, or, hey, guy has a great night on the mound against you or whatever, you got to go back in and talk about it again. And then the next day you come to work, and it's just that cycle seems like you can use it to your advantage to have that, hey, let's get back on the horse, or I'm sure it can be that compounding thing. And, that can be difficult. And for a team who has its own expectations, I'm sure that there's an aspect of that happening right now, which is really what makes me think when they snap out of it, it's going to feel like a relief and they're going to just be able to play again. Being on the road can help. Hopefully there's a jolt with Wheeler coming back on Saturday, just some energy in the clubhouse. And, I know he's been around a little bit, but to have him back on the mound and, somebody's going to do something soon. They hit some balls hard last night. The one thing, so I looked it up while you were talking. So they're 29th in batting average, 25th in slugging, right? So you'd think they're not doing a lot of damage. They are 29th in batting average on balls in play, which thinks, it could be that maybe they're not hitting the ball hard. That's why the balls they're putting in play are not finding spots. They are 6th in the majors in average exit velocity, and they're in the top half in the majors in barrel percentage. So that makes me think, without even seeing it or without having specific examples in mind, they are more often than not hitting balls hard or hitting balls well, and they're just not finding the spots they need to find. I can think of a couple examples last couple of games of guys making good defensive plays, not saying they stole anything, but tracking some balls down, making some good plays. Those things are going to fall over the course of, 6-month season. And it seems like right now there's just a bunch that aren't. So I think all that combined, pitching staff, has not been one of the best in the majors like we're used to. It's early, the compounding nature and the streak and all that stuff, the expectations they've got. And then you see some balls that don't find grass. And I think we played as it earlier, is it broken? And I think I said a couple things were broken. And, I don't want to be a complete pessimist. But in general, I don't think the Phillies are this bad. And I think that they'll win some games here soon.
Yeah. I mean, they also have the benefit of, despite how deep of a hole they may dig themselves, a ton of teams make the playoffs now. So that they have they still have an outside chance of, you get hot for a month and you look like a complete 180 and you've evened yourself out, and then you just got to play decent ball the rest of the way. And there's something to be said about getting off to slow starts with this group specifically. In 22, they went 22-29 and fired their manager, and then had like a 570, 580 winning percentage the rest of the way. End up making it to the World Series. They started 25-32 in 23, the year that, looking back on it, most people consider to be the best year for this group so far. They were one win away from the World Series after winning at a 620 clip the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a team that kind of needs to feel their backs up against the walls a little bit, because these last 2 years, they got out to hot starts and just kind of coasted the rest of the way into September and October. And they got a little hot in September last year, but ultimately this is a team that has shown like they kind of need that it's all, or we need this to go right, or we're screwed kind of mentality. And Something's got to change, and they've tried to provide a spark. You mentioned Zach Wheeler will come back. I know we kind of joked about Otto Kemp, the last guy on the bench, is not the problem, but Felix Reyes has hit the ball hard. He's got a high bat speed, high average exit velo. He seems to be fitting in. He's only got 3 hits and 15 at bats so far, but he's hitting the ball hard everywhere. He's had some decent at bats, and he's bringing some energy to the team. And then again, another domino to fall. I think Kemp will be back eventually, but a domino to fall was that they did release veteran Taijuan Walker just before yesterday's game after a pretty rough outing on Wednesday. So kind of the second domino to fall in a week and a half. And I don't know if it's sending messages. I mean, Taijuan was just not performing. And I think at one point you just have to decide that you're cutting bait and know what your fate is there. And that's what the decision they made. I had talked about a potential move to the bullpen earlier in the week. You said, obviously, with, I think rightly so, what's he going to do out there, right? If he's struggling in the first inning and you only need him for 1 inning, what's really the benefit of putting him out there? And it seems like the team agreed. And they're hoping to get that spark from Wheeler this weekend. So any thoughts on just the momentum of yesterday, maybe the spark from Wheels returning, and do you expect any other moves coming shortly, or is it kind of wait and see? And right now, Reyes is exciting, even if the results aren't showing.
Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be any other moves. I didn't expect the Reyes one, so there's nothing that seems obvious to me. But if they're willing to give stuff a shot, I mean, we can say, you and I said it at the beginning and in the spring training, like there's not a lot of obvious answers there. I mean, sometimes you still just got to make a move. And that's what we're looking at, like with Walker. Hey, do you want to keep that guy around for potential usage down the road? Well, if he's pitching so poorly, let's just give somebody else who has less of a name or a smaller contract a shot. Like if you're going to put a guy out there who's going to give up 5 runs, put out the other guy and see if he can not give up 5 runs. At that point, you're just kind of, 6 and 1, half dozen the other. So if they feel that way at some position, I don't know. And I don't really know what options they feel like they would have in the minor leagues if one of these guys struggles for too long. I don't see a big thing happening. I would think if, Bohm and Stott seem to be the guys struggling at the plate the most, maybe a couple of days off just to get away from it. And I know Thompson's done that before, and I think that can be beneficial. That fits in with what I was saying about the everyday nature can sometimes be a good thing where it presents an opportunity, but it can also be this kind of a drag at some point. And if those guys are feeling that, right now, that's what I see as the options. But, staying away from home sometimes can be better. They've got Painter on the mound tonight and Wheeler tomorrow. One of those guys gives them a spark. And, Atlanta can be a good place to hit. Now, they've got a really good lineup, so their hitters are going to enjoy hitting too. But, I think they've got a chance. And, hopefully I know whether I believe it or not, I'm sure the players do, that there can be momentum coming off that. It was nice to score some runs at the end last night and, try to take that feeling into this weekend. So, yeah, a win's going to come soon for sure.
Yeah, signs of life. It doesn't get any easier. They're facing a really tough Braves team who moved their pitching around a little bit this weekend. They're going to face off tonight. They'll send Andrew Painter to the mound against Grant Holmes, who pitched well against them. Wheeler will make his debut on Saturday, as we mentioned, versus Bryce Elder, who's 3-1 with a 1.50 ERA to start the year. And we know what Chris Sale can do against this team, except for Felix Reyes, apparently, and he'll face off against Nola in the finale on Sunday before the Phillies come home to face the Giants. Should be a tough weekend, but I would be surprised, especially the way that they played yesterday, if they end up on a 12-game losing streak coming home. So we'll wait and see. We'll give you our thoughts next week on the progress over the weekend. But Johnny, before we finish on the Phillies, I just want to give a little in memoriam to a fantastic moment in the podcast that unfortunately was short-lived. Our brand new game, if we just have a moment of silence, our brand new game unfortunately lasted 1 episode. At least we're not the Mets.
Pour one out.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Back to some fun, John. I know that the Phillies aren't always easiest to talk about right now when they're down in the dumps, but we do have some exciting things to talk about in Philly tonight. We talked about the Flyers. They're coming up Saturday, and the Xfinity Mobile Arena will be rocking down in South Philadelphia tonight as the Sixers come home to host the Celtics in Game 3 after that horrendous 30-point loss in game one, they kind of did a little flip against the Celtics and limited their ability to score from beyond the arc, and they take down a double-digit victory in Boston to even up the series. John, I don't know how much it was the Sixers excelling on defense as it was the Celtics not hitting the shots that they hit in game one. And to the Sixers' credit, they hit a lot of shots that they missed in game one as well. In game two, is it a, hey man, this team is back and we're going to push them, or is it okay, we were right, and it's gentleman's sweep is still on the board for obvious reasons?
Yeah, well, right now I think just for my own sanity, I wrote down, I was wrong, but I was also right. I'm going to go with I was right, that things weren't looking good. We did, we started off by saying things aren't looking good. The Celtics are really good. The Sixers really don't have a chance, and this is not a big deal. Just this is the matchup. They're going to be eliminated soon, and we'll move on and figure out what to do with this team. But I was also saying this is the best collection of non-Embiid players they've had. And during the regular season, they were 9-3 when the other three big name guys played together. When Maxey, Edgecombe, and George played without Embiid, they were 9-3 during the regular season. Now, it's true that the Celtics are really good. And what Adnan threw out, I hadn't thought about that, but they probably do have the best two players in the series. And maybe the Sixers do have the next best four. But in a series, and especially, it's funny, the NBA, it usually leans towards the team that's actually better ends up winning. But I don't think what happened the other night was a fluke. You're right. But that's also part of the way the Celtics play. You make a bunch of threes, they're really hard to beat. You also take a bunch of threes, and if they're not going in that night, you shoot yourself in the foot. And the Sixers, however much they had to do with that, they also capitalized. And Edgecombe was incredible. And that to me showed I'm not expecting them to win, but the goal for an underdog is to steal one of the first two games on the road, and they did that. And they're coming back home. And we talk about momentum, and a lot of people think that's not a real thing, but I think players do and coaches do. And if that works, they're coming home. What I worry about is the Celtics are really well coached. So if the shots are falling and their coach makes proper adjustments, I'd still expect the Celtics to win this series. But I'll say this. I would not have gone out of my way to put the Sixers games on the rest of this series. I will make sure I'm watching at least tonight to see how this goes. So I'm intrigued at least.
Yeah, I think that the big thing was that guys were hitting shots to me. I mean, it's Maxey. They're collapsing on Maxey. They were forcing Maxey, basically force someone else to beat us. And it didn't work in game one. They shot less than 20% from beyond the arc. And in the first half, they shot under 20%, I should say. I think they finished at 22% from three by the end of the game. But he said after watching the film on game one, he felt okay, it's clear what their attack plan is. I'm not going to change my game necessarily, but instead of trying to force a bucket, I should be 8, 9, 10 plus assists moving forward and just trust that my guys, if I put it in their hands where they want it, that they're going to be able to hit the shots. And instead of getting frustrated when they weren't hitting those shots early and changing what you're doing, it seemed like they just stuck with the plan and it worked this time. Celtics role players, they challenged them a little bit. They didn't step up like they did in the first game. And those Celtics role players apparently have played pretty rough on the road this season. So obviously it's going to come down to what happens in the game. And I talked about Mazzulla and the effect that he has. He's a great coach and what he's been able to adjust for that team throughout the season. But kind of a chaotic 2 games, right? A blowout and then almost a complete 180. The rookie Edgecombe scoring 30, and he looks like a great leader out there on the court despite his age. And Maxey proved that he can respond and be that number one option when Joel's not there. Joel, by the way, before tonight, upgraded to doubtful. Still likely not playing, but he's already returned to practice. So people are getting hopeful that maybe there's a chance for game 4. Still likely not to play today.
Yeah, I would be shocked to see him tonight. I would really, just personally, I would be surprised to see a guy come back and play in this series. But if it works, it works. But yeah, I'm even thinking of it without him. He'd be a great addition. But I think the Sixers have a shot, and they showed it by saying it wasn't a fluke the other night. This is a collection of talented players that I think can go up against those guys. And if they're not making 20 to 22 threes a night, then I think the playing field's a little more even. And if the Sixers capitalize, they're right there. I really like what Maxey said. He didn't shoot a great percentage. He was 5 for 12 from 3, though. But if he's saying that, 9 assists and only 1 turnover, that's really helpful for a guy that plays every minute. And I always worry about his shooting numbers with as many minutes as he plays. Is there some sort of fatigue setting in? I know he's really young and he's really fast, but I always worry about that. But if he can do that, if he's going to have 9 assists and only 1 turnover while he's not shooting great, and the other guy's going to step up and play really well, then look, at the very least, this is going to be fun. And like I said, the biggest thing I can say is I was not like, hey, I'm not going to watch anymore. But if there was something else on and I had to make a choice, like the Sixers weren't going to be number 1 on my list, tonight I'm going to watch the game. I'm excited to see how this goes.
Yeah, and it's when you have George hitting shots 7 for 13 from the field, when you have Oubre hitting shots 5 for 10 from the field, you can make up for that little maybe underperformance when it comes to shooting percentage wise from Maxey, especially when he's the one dishing it out and creating those opportunities for guys by being the focal point of the staunch Celtics defense. So it'll be really fun. I think that people are riding high off that Flyers victory, and I think Xfinity Mobile is going to be pretty rocking. They have a party down there, I think, that starts at 3:00 in the parking lot. So it should be pretty exciting. And again, I'm going to be locked in. I mean, after game 1, it felt like, do I even want to watch? If it's going to look like this, do I want to watch the rest of the way? I'm going to, because it's part of our job. But what joy am I going to have from watching it? And they gave me a ton of joy in game 2. Yep. So hopefully they can extend that into game 3.
Yep.
What'd you see from VJ? I mean, obviously, young kid. He was incredible. What were your thoughts watching him in game 2?
Well, the shooting is there. I mean, he's a really athletic guy, but he was, and I just looked at the numbers to confirm it. He was 6 for 10 from downtown. But what I noticed is just poise. And you mentioned the word leader with him. He's the young guy, and he's the fourth option, the 4th star who takes a back seat when those guys are around. But the poise he plays with, he doesn't look like he's chasing anything. He's trying to burst through and make his name. Like, he seems comfortable in his role, but also ready and willing to jump on an opportunity. And if things are going down, then he's going to keep going. And especially if Maxey's going to be smart and try to feed him, like, there's a poise and maturity, and it's not just in his game, but also just kind of the way he carries himself. Like, did you see the thing of him winking and they were all making fun of him? And he says it actually wasn't. And I believe him. I'm not saying whatever, but it's funny how cool it looked. Like, I wasn't thinking, whoa, this guy's going to hit him. I was like, look how in control this guy is to be in the middle of a great performance and to just go like that. And I would say it's even better that he was saying, he's like, I didn't know the camera was like there. I was just kind of making a face at my teammate. Like, to be in control in a hectic situation like that in your first playoff, your first playoff as an NBA player, that's what stands out to me. The talent's obviously there. And if he's so under control, and they're gonna find, feed the hot guy, then if they're doing that right, then yeah, there's a chance they keep pushing the Celtics in this series.
Yeah, and one thing I feel like I kind of discredited Nurse in our last episode, so I want to give credit where credit's due. He's won a championship, and I know that there's no history of guys winning championships with multiple franchises, no long history of guys winning championships with multiple franchises in the NBA, but they did a really good job of buying back into that overhelp scheme that he's implemented throughout the season. When it works really well. It was like the most ideal version of it was happened in game 2. You saw they kept Boston shooters off balance all night. And for it to feel as ugly and sloppy as that same thing did in game 1, it was very clear that Nurse pushed that heavily in practice. The Metro Philly Sports Network reporter, Zach Chiovella, he's our guy on the ground with the Sixers. He said that at practice this week, it was just repeated over and over and over again. That was the focus, was getting that defensive grit back. They felt confident that the shooting would come back. So he did a nice little write-up on Edgecombe's breakout after game 2, if you want to get excited before game 3, and obviously talked about Nurse's adjustment a little bit more if you want to go check that out over at metrophiladelphia.com. Wanted to get a plug in there for him because I read it and it just gave me some great info on the true adjustments other than just seeing the results play out, seeing what was going on behind the scenes.
Cool.
Do you feel, is it like are they giving you any tingles, John? I mean, you got young guys performing, Maxi's performing well. There's a chance that Embiid could come back this series. Is it like, little tingles like after some success in the past, or is it more like, okay, 0-1, it was cool that they beat the Lakers in game 1, but then they got smashed for 4 straight games. What do you think the rest of the series is going to feel like?
I'm completely unsure now, but I'm intrigued enough, and and it's not. I don't mean that to pass on it. I really don't know. I was pretty certain that they were just kind of overmatched, and like I said, I think that performance the other night I don't think was fluky. I think it was legit, which matches up my idea that hey, this should be a pretty good non-Embiid team still, and they were in the regular season when the 3 guys played without Embiid, and I think that showed. So with the volatility with the way the Celtics play, and if the Sixers have confidence from this and their own plan and things they think they can do, we'll see if the Celtics change on any of that drop coverage that everybody's talking about, where the Sixers are making baskets. And I'm sure the Sixers noticed it too. So hey, let's keep doing it. Or what's our adjustment if we see them changing it? Like they're going to have an adjustment right away on what their plan of attack is. And if you can get those young fast guys going downhill, I think there can be success there too. So I'm perplexed. I mean, in a good way. I'm perplexed. I don't know if this is if it's more like what we saw in game 1 or more like what we saw last night or somewhere in the middle. But like I said, the best thing I think I can say about it is I'm back in to I'm interested and I want to see how it goes. So I'm a fan as opposed to kind of just waiting for the series to end. I'm a fan and let's see what they do.
Yeah, you brought up a great note, and I think that it was a surprise in game 1 that they weren't successful with those 3 still in the lineup. They were 9-3 during the regular season. I don't know if you mentioned the record again specifically today, so I wanted to go back and mention it. 9-3 when Maxey, Edgecombe, and George play, and Embiid does not. And now they've split those first 2 on the road, which is exactly what you want, not only as a team starting on the road in general. You always want to split on the road, but to have such an underdog 2-7 seed, obviously huge to take one before leaving Boston and coming back home. So we'll be locked in tonight. Obviously keep tuned in on the socials. I'll bring the banner back up so in case you guys haven't seen it in a little bit. Make sure you stay locked in. We will be bringing you all of our reactions. Our staunch social media team, which is just us logged into a different account, we'll have some excitement over there. Johnny, a staunch sports researcher, he'll bring you some great notes as well from all Philly sports over the weekend. Johnny, any thoughts before we head out for an action-packed weekend of Philly sports?
Yeah, my thought is this is a huge weekend. We got Sixers tonight, Flyers going for a sweep tomorrow. Huge series for the Phillies in Atlanta with 3 great pitchers going, and hopefully a jolt of energy with Wheeler's return, and then more draft tonight and tomorrow. You said you're going to be locked in. Are you going to be able to watch any of this?
We'll see, man. Who knows? My phone is always on silent during these, and it's on very loud right now, just in case my wife upstairs, she's ready to go. We're ready to go. Baby Fisher, number 3, could be on the way any minute now. So
due date is today, and we're sitting here without a baby yet. So you say you're going to be locked in. I probably remains to be seen a little bit. Although we know that the dads have a lot less to do than the moms, and I've been able to spend some time kind of locked in on games when we've had our 2 kids. So I guess there's some downtime once the baby comes and once mom does all the work. So maybe you will be locked in.
Look, when we were scheduling this one with Adnan, we weren't sure when we were going to be able to do it. We were talking about doing yesterday, today, and I told my wife, I was like, yeah, we're trying to get him on. He's a big guest, loves us, and we'd like to have him on. I told Johnny to go ahead and, hey, do it without me if you have to. And she was just like, oh, you don't want to just chime in like live from the emergency room, live from the car ride on, where you can drop right when things get started. And I was like, that sounds like a free pass to me. I don't know. That sounds like that was a welcome invitation. So who knows, Johnny, if there's some breaking news and we need to hop on here, I might be doing it from that hospital room.
Cool. All right. Well, good luck.
Good
luck. And glad we got to do this with Adnan. And let's, Yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement about all these teams right now in different ways. But yeah, we will be locked in. But good luck, and we'll get back at it when you're free.
Definitely. Appreciate the love, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate Adnan Virk once again for joining us. Make sure you check out his podcast. Of course, buy the book, Cinephile. Great book. And check us out on socials at Bro Glove Podcast on Twitter, at Brotherly Glove Podcast on Instagram, at Brotherly Glove Podcast on Blue Sky. We're posting everywhere. And if you could do us a favor, we're trying to, after the short hiatus, get our momentum back on social. So if you can leave some comments, likes, shares, rates and reviews on Spotify and Apple are huge. I hate to be the guy begging for that stuff, but after the small hiatus, the algorithm doesn't know what to do with us. So if we can get some love from you guys with the extra steps, we really appreciate it and get us back out there. But most of all, we love talking to each other. We love talking Philly sports. It's what we would be doing anyway. So John, appreciate you. Appreciate the love from all the fans out there. And we will talk to you guys soon after an exciting week of Philly sports. We'll see you soon.